Hey everyone, and welcome to the Morning Chalk Up YouTube channel. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. On today's episode, we have Rory McKernan alongside competition directors of the Legend Championship, Joe Linton and Bob Jennings. A full house. Everybody is somewhat caught up on sleep after a really incredible weekend of competition for the Masters athletes.
Yeah, it was magical. It was magical. I wouldn't say we're caught up on sleep. I'd say we're just hitting our stride. Boys, back me up. It was an energizing and uplifting weekend.
Sure.
I'm kidding. We actually we did get beat down, but that's what happens with a fantastic event, and that's what it takes to make it happen. So it was awesome, straight up.
And Rory, I can't even believe what I'm seeing behind you right now, because that's not what the live stream looked like at all. And we're only a couple days removed from the competition.
Yeah, we were talking about it before the camera was rolling. It's actually, I'm standing here because I was so jealous of Andy Sakamoto and Sean Woodland getting all the screen time. So I want to just stand where they were. No, it's you can see the transformation that took place behind us, and it's a testament really to, not only the volunteers who show up for these events on the consistent, but also the ones who have been part of this event that Bob and Joe created over the course of 6 years. It was awesome, man. Like a big village of people showed up, and really this happened for the most part within a couple hours of the venue being done.
Wow. It just it's incredible to watch it come together, especially you guys have a different perspective, seeing it from the beginning all play out and then torn down. But Joe and Bob, I want to start with you guys. You created this event. It's been your baby along these several years. What was it like this year to now transition and be inside Mayhem?
I mean, it was epic. I mean, I've always wanted to go to Mayhem just to work out, and then actually, I don't think I've worked out at Mayhem yet, which is funny.
Oh no!
Oh no! Drive back.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
Yeah. But every time we go there, we're all about work. We want to get stuff done, and but yeah, the being inside Mayhem was just amazing. Going from my small gym out here in California to having to go to a parking lot in 2020, then a hotel in 2021, and then what is we consider the mecca of CrossFit Mayhem. So it was awesome, and it's still kind of surreal. Got home last night super late, got a little bit of sleep, took the kids to school, then immediately just put the live stream on the TV, and I'm just in awe in the production and again the transformation. I mean, look at it now. It was completely different 36 hours ago. So it's pretty amazing being there, and it's definitely going to be something that I remember forever. It was cool.
Yeah, and Lauren, I was going to say one thing that I talked to both of these guys about over the course of the weekend, and maybe Bob can speak to it, is I see the parallels to building a gym in a community, right? Like a lot of people come to Mayhem, they're like, oh, I'm going to get a massive facility with all the shiniest road gear that I can find, versus I'm going to start small in my garage in something that's tenable, grow slowly as the community kind of warrants it. And I think that's the approach that these guys took, and it's for that reason really obviously continues to gain momentum in a healthy way.
Yeah,
Bob, at what point? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and we talked about it a little bit during the award ceremony. We started off with 36 athletes in the first year, and we literally had to beg them to come compete in our gym in Carlsbad, and now it's 4 days at Mayhem, and just the most amazing production quality on that live stream, and top athletes in the world. I mean, it was fantastic.
At what point were conversations starting to move the competition to Mayhem?
I'll take this one first, but as early as the last time that these guys, when they did the 2021 championship, I know that Lauren, I spoke to you about this briefly last time we spoke, but the common thread was Hamilton Road Productions and Charlie Doobie, who did the production for them last year as well. And he's like, hey, listen, you guys got a lot of stuff in common. They're Mayhem athletes, and I think at the very least you guys should talk. And so that's what it was really for at least 2 phone calls. We were just brainstorming about Legends, and Mayhem didn't even come up for the first few discussions. But you guys jump in on here because my memory is just about as bad as my hair,
Yeah. I mean, that was it, bro. I remember when you said, well, what about if we moved it to a really big gym somewhere in the South? And
wink, wink.
That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah. I think it's so
So
cool to watch
it was
this.
organic is the answer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go on,
but
Lauren.
watching it play out and seeing a bigger field of the Masters athletes. And at the CrossFit Games, we see 10. Now we're seeing, I think, 32. What is it like to put on an event that has more than 300 athletes and making sure that everybody is in their lane assignments and everybody is warming up at the right time? Because being in a local gym, a local affiliate, it's such a ordeal to now have to manage all of these humans.
It,
Yeah, it's a lot.
it's a lot of the
Go ahead.
volunteers, right? It's like we have this guy DJ that comes with us every year and does athlete control, and you talk to any of the athletes about DJ and him giving them the pep talks before they go onto the floor and compete. The volunteer judges, right? Like everybody, you could have set your watch and run a Tokyo subway by how efficient the and over the weekend. And that's really, it's the volunteers and it's also the athletes too, right? I mean, so many of these athletes are big time athletes. They've been to the games. They know how to compete at one of these big competitions, and they know when they need to be in their corral. They know when they need to be on deck. So it's the community just coming together, which is what you always see.
Mm. Joe, would you say that this is the closest your team has gotten to actually replicating something that is a similar experience as the CrossFit Games?
Absolutely. I mean, last year we did a broadcast, and I'm not too familiar with all the terminology and how it works and all that, but they were telling us the whole time, like, oh, this broadcast is going to be better. It's going to be it's going to be more elite, and it's going to be higher quality. And I just didn't really get it until I walked out into the truck, and I was like, what is this? It looked like they were, doing the Super Bowl to me. It was amazing to see how many people were, just involved in creating this year's live stream, and I was blown away. And then, like Bob said, the volunteers, when they came in and they saw what kind of row, I think, did most of the design on the backdrop and the banners and just the look of it. And I feel like when you come in and you see that as a volunteer, it almost makes you step up and work harder because, you don't want to mess it up. There's obviously a lot of thought and work put into it. So just seeing how the judging quality, the consistency, the way they moved on the floor, on and off, the reset team, it was very efficient, and I was blown away just by how well our team did. It was really cool.
I'll add to that, Lauren. Just say one important thing to say though also is like it's a cool comparison, but also Bob and Joe they really reframed the way that I was thinking about it. Even on Sunday, like these athletes got a ton of swag from our sponsors. They even got a cash prize that before now had never been seen before. But Bob and Joe were like, hey, that's all cool and this is great. We want to continue to evolve, but they're not trying to be the CrossFit Games. There's like a very specific vibe and attitude and characteristics to this competition, Legends, that we want it to be that. I want it to be that. Bob and Joe want it to be that. So it's not trying to be the CrossFit Games. And again, like you guys pump my brakes whenever you need to, but it is its really own cool, unique off-season event. And I think we don't have enough time to get into all of our learning experiences cumulatively. But one thing is obviously like trying to make it sync better with the rest of the athletes' competition season, because we assume many of these athletes will be at the CrossFit Games. But I think that's an important point, that it's not trying to be the CrossFit Games. And I learned that too, just by them being here. It's like, it is very unique. It is very different, and it's got its own vibes.
Well,
Yeah.
Rory, and to that point, when we spoke before the competition, you said that Sunday was your favorite day because that's when you can see all of the hard work and the big picture of everything. Is that still how you feel now that it's all said and done? And what's kind of like some of the takeaways from seeing the competition play out?
Yeah, without a doubt. Like I'm not a big pat yourself on the back kind of guy. So I think really what I mean by that is that's when you can breathe out and be like, okay, we did it. Like there's the hugs throughout the weekend are more like, okay, cool, we're gonna be okay. Hey, like there's a small fire here, let's put it out. Checking in, hey, how are things going? But the hugs at the end of the weekend are like, man, we just pulled off something monumental, and the smiles that you see is most importantly from athletes, spectators, and then even like volunteers and judges and folks who are involved with the event. But I think, yeah, that's what I mean by Sunday feels. And but takeaways for me are, I think I had more questions than answers going into it about, one, what were the unique desires, right? Like I had Bob and Joe's experience to lean on in terms of what the athletes may be expecting, what people at home who are watching would be looking for. But I learned a ton, right? Like this is a group of athletes that represent a massive swath of ages, even though that they're chunked out into 5 years at a time. And I had a lot of great conversations with athletes, with people who have been involved as coaches, or they've been involved just with the Legends event for years and years and years. So again, it would be a whole different show. But I guess the one big takeaway would be that this community has legs of its own, meaning these kind of events, they certainly need, they certainly want, and they certainly deserve.
Sure. And Bob and Joe, since you guys have been doing this since the beginning, you created this event. What is the feedback that you get from the Masters athletes after they've competed, or maybe even it's a couple of months down the line as you begin plans for the following year? Bob, I'll let you start, and then Joe, if you want to chime in.
After the competition, everybody is nothing but smiles, right? We make sure though that we reach out to the athletes and the volunteers and judges to find out what we can do better every year. How do we build on this experience and bring something unique to everybody the next year? This year was something special, and it's our focus on the athlete experience that I think really separates this event, right? And bringing it to Mayhem this year, that's just one of the coolest experiences any CrossFit athlete could ever have.
Joe, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we get feedback, like going to Mayhem wasn't our idea. That was something that kind of, just came to us. And so like feedback from athletes, we get a lot of good ideas sent to us. We get some crazy ideas sent to us as well, but I can't really pinpoint to what is, original from us. We kind of try to review all the feedback, see if we can make it happen. And so a lot of it, what you see is from the athletes and what they're asking for. And we're like, cool, we can do that. That sounds great. Let's make it happen. And we just keep doing that every year. And I think that's why we have such a good following. They're so appreciative. And I think that's what makes Legend special, is that we truly listen to what they want and make it happen.
Well, and you have somebody like the 45 to 49-year-old champion, Jason Grubb, who comes year after year. And I'm sure there's several athletes that this is on their list of off-season competitions to compete in. For the Masters, this is kind of the premier event for them. Looking forward, looking ahead, what are the plans to continue to grow this and really make this something special for that Masters community?
Well, I can tell you that your comment about athletes having this on their list, the 35 to 39 women's champion, Amy Morton, came up to me after the event, and she grabbed me by the shoulders and she said, "This has been on my list for a year and a half, and I did it." And then
that's so exciting, and we love that.
Which is great, right? Excuse me, little post competition. Fran lung going for me. Here. But starting to plan for next year, I think we need a couple of weeks off before we jump into what makes next year bigger and better. But
sure.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. And most of the things that, again, I said, we had an after action report that started on before the even competition began. There were lots of notes from lots of people about media coverage, and while they were thrilled with the massive production value, lots of people wanted to see it coast to coast. There was, to Joe's point, there were tons of great ideas that I think the good news was that it was all small tweaks and small things that are highly implementable. So is that a word? Implementable. We can implement them.
It is now, yeah.
Rory, if you say it, then we're all just going to nod our heads.
Doable.
We're going to believe it here.
Yeah, put it in the dictionary. Well,
and it's also great because if there's Masters athletes out there that are interested in competing, or maybe they are looking for an off-season competition, they can go back to the live stream and they can watch. And I would say watching the final event of the final day is really what like any spectator wants to see. There's points on the line and you don't know who's going to win. For the three of you who were there in person watching some of these like head-to-head battles, what was that like?
It was intense, right?
Awesome.
This is kind of the first year that Joe and I have actually been able to watch events due to just the way the staff has grown over the years, and we could offload a lot of the responsibilities. So I took in most of the final day from either sitting right next to Sean and Annie, or the best seat in the house, right along the athlete entrance there, and it was amazing. I mean, watching Rachel Sessa go from 6th to 2nd, over the final two events, watching the Grubb and Lukanen battle. I mean, just it was. That's the excitement that you're looking for at an event like this, and it was intense and really cool.
It was so much fun to watch.
I would say that it was.
Yeah, like Bob said.
Dude, for me, it was. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, like Bob said, just having the time to be able to watch was so important to make sure that we have next year and every year, because you run the event, and if it's on time and everyone's having fun, it's cool. But watching it happen and watching the races develop, I think it's important to enhance the programming and make it better year by year. So creating those races, like Bob said, that's the art in programming, and really makes the final day special, especially when there's a lot of points on the board. So that was my favorite part by far.
I was just gonna say that from my perspective, like a lot of these battles were like as good or better than things you've seen in the past, anything you've seen in the past. And it was funny for me because I'm wearing not a different hat per se, but like when I was talking about the Masters, when I was like hosting open announcements, for example, I was like in my young 30s. Being here and watching these guys go was super cool because it was way more apples to apples. And I know I said this to you last time, Lauren, but
yeah,
it was like life goals when you watch the 65 plus, but then it gets pretty close to your age, and it was like, okay, these are people I could actually measure myself against, because I'm spoiled here at Mayhem. I get to see like Froning and Guy and Haley and all these people go. I'm like, I don't even want to compare myself to them. It just makes me feel bad. But now I'm watching people that are my own age and throwing down, and it was legit competition. You could kind of see it in the crowd, but you could definitely hear it in Sean and Annie's voice too as they were calling it. It was heated.
Joe and Bob, do you think that we should have Rory compete next year? We're not even going to ask him. I'll have you two vote.
I think we got a Roe versus Boz.
Yeah,
he was in the building at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Bring it back.
He was in the building at one point. I almost took one of the folding chairs and just like smacked him on the back with it, just for production value,
Yeah.
You got to give the people what they want.
You got to give the people what they want. Throw them off the top deck. Yeah, I don't know, man. Hey, but maybe if we find a format for someone who fits my mold, I'll jump in there.
Someone who fits your
but
mold.
I ain't qualifying for 40 to 45. I'll put it that way.
Guys, this event was so incredible.
Volunteer director heat.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Sorry, go ahead.
I like it. We'll start the planning now. If anybody watching, though, has not seen the live stream, I do encourage going to Mayhem's YouTube page. I'll put a link in our description so you can watch it. Some incredible competition. Production value was exactly what we want to see if we're at home trying to watch an incredible event. But Bob, Rory, Joe, thank you guys so much for putting this on and really giving the Masters community a competition and a time to have their chance in the spotlight. Can't wait to see what you guys have in store for next year.